Hey guys, Courtnall Skosan here, and welcome to Skosan Unplugged.
I told her mom that I was soon. Knew as a child back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my broom. Hop in the car.
There we go. Episode number 2, Jaco Kriel for today's guest. And I'm just going to do a little short introduction. I don't know if I'm going to do it justice, but I'm going to give it my best shot. So, born on the 21st of August, 1989, in a town called Standerton, we have the walking missile, an Afrikaans, die missile, soos ons hom ken. A man that has lit up the rugby pitches across the world with his electrifying speed and is an unstoppable force with the ball in hand. With 200 plus professional games under his belt and a half a century of tries to add to that tally. Springbok, pride and joy of Standerton, a living legend for the Emirates Lions, Jaco Kriel. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, Jakes.
Yes, of course. Taking me back on the memory lane there. Thank you so much for that. It's
the funny thing is, Jakes, when I was doing a little bit of the prep and all of that kind of stuff, I didn't realize you scored that many tries. Like, it's crazy. Like, brother, you scored over 50 tries. I think it's like 52 in total. That's what obviously is on online. I don't know. It could be more. It could be a little bit less, but it's crazy. And it just took me back to all the times we had when we were playing at the Lions, obviously. Always stealing our tries on the edges. I think about 5 of those could have been coming my way, but all good, no hard feelings.
Living on the edges, living on the edges. But yeah,
100%. Now, Jakes, thank you so much for opening up your time. I really appreciate it. This is still a new podcast. This is something that has been in the pipelines for me. For the last 5-6 years, I've been talking about it, and I'm finally taking action. And I said, you know what, I'm just gonna go out on a leap, see what I can do, and we'll just grow along the way, and we'll build the community. But the whole vision for this is to just have raw, unfiltered conversations, just giving insight into people's lives, telling their stories, and then hopefully inspiring people, whoever may be listening, maybe there's one thing that they can take away from this conversation. I mean, usually we have these conversations when we're sitting on a couch after a training session, we're having these deep conversations, but, no one gets to see those conversations. And I think for me, if we can open up that world a little bit for people and they can understand, what's going on in our minds and our heads, because people see us as just guys that run into walls, Owens, but like they don't always see us for the people that we are, because you need to be a machine when you're on the field. You need to be a high performance athlete, but you're also a human being, So I just wanted to open up that, and have those conversations. So yeah, thank you so much. I'm humbled and honored to have you on, man.
No, of course, it's 100%. As you mentioned, that's something I've noticed as well. Like, people see you on the rugby field and they judge you Saturday to Saturday. They judge your performance. They judge you how their opinion about rugby is. And that's one thing I'm actually also busy with, is talking to schools, like sharing the story. Every rugby player has a story, but people just think it's a high performance environment. You have to pitch on Saturday and they judge you by that. But behind every rugby player, a lot of adversity, I believe. And I'm so glad you're doing this to get those stories out there. It's special.
No, thank you so much, Jakes, man. Jakes, so I'm going to start right at the beginning, as if I did not know you at all, because I want people to understand the full story or a little bit of the full story of who Jaco Kriel is. I'm going to start at the beginning, your upbringing. What are your fondest memories growing up, and was rugby always part of that since the beginning?
Yes, of course. So obviously you mentioned I grew up in a small town, Standerton. I was born there in 1989. So I eventually matriculated there. So that was my journey there. As a little lighty, going to a small primary school, obviously enjoyed rugby. My dad, we lived on a farm. My dad worked for Brickworks there. We didn't farm. He worked there, and obviously growing up there, he taught me how to tackle with. I'm not sure what's the correct English word, but milli soccer.
Oh wow!
We'll fill it up with stronker. I'm not sure what's the English word, but then you'll say tackle low, go hard. The guy can't run without his legs. So that was obviously my first memory of him teaching me how to play rugby. And I had an older brother. He was 5 years older than me, and we used to do one-on-one sessions in the backyard.
Sure.
So it was quite interesting. I'd probably end up a lot of times in tears, and that was my fondest. That was some of my greatest memories. Like when I started to learn about rugby, and as a little boy, I never dreamed of making rugby a career. It was interesting because you're in a small town. There's not a lot of people. And I just did my part, and I did rugby, athletics, cricket. I ran. I think I came fourth in cross country in nationals. So when I was 9 years old, so it was all over the place.
Yeah.
And with my rugby journey, I played a little bit of when I was 8 years old. I played for the under-9s, and they put me on wing. And there was literally probably no one else to play there. And then I started playing scrum off for a bit, and it was good fun for 2 years. And then I moved to fly off, and I actually played fly off up until the age of 16. Then I had one teacher taking a very bold move, moving me to flanker, and being in a small town, small school. He got a lot of slack because there's only so much players to choose from, and he moved me to flanker, and he just didn't care. He's like, no, this guy has got all the attributes of a flanker, and just worked out for me from there. I don't know if there's any questions you have regarding my rugby career. We'll go a bit into my life, a bit more now.
Yeah. No, awesome. Obviously, I didn't know that you played five, so I went through some of the clips and stuff, like just highlights, all the tributes and all of that kind of stuff. And I did notice that you did, create a little bit for us on the outside as well, there on the edges. You didn't just steal our tries. You actually, you did a lot for us on the outside channels where you made the job easy for us to just run it in. And I'm like, oh snap, I never looked at it like this. But now that I'm looking at the clips, I'm like, okay, so I understood, like when I saw, okay, right, you played a little bit of fly off. I'm like, So that's where the connection was. You were not just the guy that could bash it up, and just obviously you were quick, like just raw speed and raw power. You actually knew what you were doing, and I mean, not a lot of people watch the game like that. So I noticed that, and I'm like quite interesting. And now that you're saying that you played fly off, you played wings, you basically played all the positions. You knew exactly what those guys were looking for, and it probably makes the game a little bit easier for you as well. Seeing that you were on flanker, you were playing on the wider channels, you knew exactly what each position, was expected to do and what they were looking for. Do you think that made you a better flanker, a better rugby player in general, being, exposed to all those positions in your younger years and then obviously making that move to flanker?
I definitely think it. I believe it helped me a lot because if you look at it, you get all the basics of the skill training at 9 and 10 and looking for space and analyzing the game. And when they moved me to flanker, nobody taught me how to play flanker. Nobody told me, listen, you have to do this, you have to do this. They just told me, listen, go on the field, do what you want, you've got freedom. And that was in high school. And I just played my heart out, and as the years went on, I did the same, but I learned more about the basics of being a flanker, what you have to do, what's the do's and don'ts. And then we played under Coach Akkers, that basically gave us exactly what I had in high school, freedom to do what you see on the field. With him and Coach Swayze, literally you had freedom to try anything, and they made sure we knew the basics. They made sure we knew how to look for space, how to communicate, how to get to that space, how to identify that space. And yes, you remember playing with you. You're one of the best communicators out there. And playing that setup, you don't realize how rare that is, because the players don't know how to communicate anymore these days. And we were like a whole budgie show on the field. If you look at Elton, Lionel having an argument the whole time, but still in the game plan. Ruan Combrand running the scrums, trying to tell the forwards how to scrum. That's what probably not the communication that you want. But yeah, I think back at the back for you with the fond memories of you, Komis and Bubus. Yes, just the communication we had and the brotherhood we had in that room is one thing I'll never forget because it just gelled and we knew exactly what we wanted to do. But coming back to your question, I definitely think it helped me throughout my career. I'm into a bit of coaching now, and you get 13, 14-year-old ladies that want to tell you, I'm playing this position. Like, if you're not fully developed as a young player, you can never say, I'm committed to this position because you can't.
They would. I'm assuming they wouldn't know that, but we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that. I wanted to ask before we move on to the Lions era and being under Johan and all of that, because I really want to get into that. But I just wanted to touch on, you played Craven Week, so now obviously I never had the experience of playing Craven Week. I was always either too small or too much of a showman. I've heard the excuses that you could never think of. It's crazy the excuses that I heard when I was in school. So I wanted to ask you. I mean, you said that you played. I mean, you played in school. They changed positions. You were obviously the star player of the team. Were there any limitations put on you in your earlier stages of your career based on like perceptions, and stuff like that? Like maybe you're too small, you're too light, you're too this, and how did you deal with that?
Like, yeah, of course, I believe there's lots of players that went through that, and I really believe that's where Kurt Lee and Churchill is showing the world how wrong they are. Because I went through the same stuff. In matric, I weighed, I think, 78 kgs as a flanker. If you look at the Crane Week now, they're 100, 110 kgs.
Sure.
So, yeah, they're big. So at school, where I played, they backed me because they knew I was the fittest guy. I had pace, and they just had to let me play. But as soon as any provincial setup came in, they said, "No, I'm too small. I'm not going to make it." Till they see me play.
Yeah.
And then I never argued with them. I never said you're wrong. I never said nothing. If I got on the field, I just did my job. I remember when I was 17, I played Academy Week. And we were at the first training after the teams were picked. And I was running over the ball. And the coach told me, you can't run that line. You're going to be smashed. You're too small.
They didn't know Jaco Kriel.
And I was like, okay, but I like to get my hands on the ball. And after the first game I was on the bench, I came on. After that, they didn't want to drop me because I made my tackles, I made turnovers. The guy struggled to tackle me. I had good leg drive, and I had an engine that could go. So definitely, and if you go into the professional setup as well, under 19, under 20, under 21, I had pre-seasons in the gym to pick up weight. And that was up until Cash came. It's like, listen here, weight is not part of this game. You have to be strong, you have to be fit, and you have to be agile.
Crazy. So on that, because I was similar. So obviously I was a little bit on the lighter side when I started playing Super Rugby. All the wingers that I played against were all like 105. I mean, I don't know if you remember my debut when we played against the Blues and Frank Alai made the line break on the edge and I was coming across with the cross defense. I'm like, I'm quicker than him. I'm definitely making this tackle. Mans was looking me right square into my face. He didn't look left or right. High knee action. Bumped me. Laat ek die grond eet. Like, I don't know if you remember that. I still remember Willie Brits coming to me and saying, hey, Chom, welcome to Super Rugby. It's either you or him, And so, but I love that. I love the fact that we had that opportunity to be able to just play with whatever our makeup of our bodies were. We were fitting into that structure and all of that. But I wanted to ask you on that, was it just a God-given talent? Or was it something that you worked on? Like you could break tackles, right? You were quick. You could break tackles. You could do stuff that people would be like, how? Like, because you could literally from a standing position generate a force and generate power to push someone off you and hand them off or bump them, literally from standing still. Like I remember this stuff like it happened yesterday. So is that something that you worked on, or do you think that some of that would just be like a God-given talent, just a God-given gift that you had, and you just used it on the field?
Yes, coach. Yeah, with that, I believe everything I've achieved and done on the field was definitely a God-given talent. Looking a bit deeper into it, I had no one teaching me, listen here, turn out of the tackle, or listen here, stay on your feet and fight a bit longer. It was, I don't know, it's like I can't remember a specific moment where somebody told me, listen here, you're not going to ground, just keep on fighting. My dad taught me how to hand off. He's like, why do you want to run over a guy? Use your feet, get on the shoulder and get a hand off. So daddy taught me. But if I think about fond memories, there were even situations where I'm not blowing my own whistle here, where I thought, how did you get out of that, Jakes?
That's what it felt like watching you.
Yeah, bending, twisting, and you just don't know. It happens. I really believe, I can't take all the credit. Like the way we got conditioned at that time with the Olympic lifting, with the explosive exercises, with our fitness, I really believe all of that contributed to what I achieved.
Sure. Powerful. Now I want to get into the Lions era. Obviously, we're talking and we kind of we're hovering there. So I wanted to get into that, but I wanted to start with the pre-Johan Ackerman era because I mean, obviously, I joined you guys 2013 after everything, like after most of the challenging times were almost over. You were in the transition phase, and that's where I came in. So now everyone talks about all the glory years, of the Lions and when we were building that success and, building that legacy at the Lions. But I missed all of that. You were there. You went through all of those struggles. Can you speak on that? Like, what was it like to be at the Lions when everything looked like it was all doom and gloom? Like you didn't know what the future was holding for you guys.
Yeah, coach. As a player, I never really got into the politics of things. Like I never really understood what's going on in the background, what's going on in the offices, and all of that. I just on the 19, I played good rugby, and I just stuck to that. Under Coach Timmy, under 20. Yes, I was one of the first guys that got swine flu when it just came out in 2020.
Sure.
I almost missed my whole rugby season.
Sure.
So that was, I'm just taking us through the years now as I remember it. So that was probably one of the toughest years for me. And then I realized under 21, one of the toughest tasks back then is to have a good under 21 season, because that's where most of the players fall away to get into a senior structure. And back then, 21, it was, turned 21 in 2010. And Super Rugby, we lost every game as the Lions. It was Coach Dick's first year. Things didn't go well, and we lost every game in Super Rugby. And come Currie Cup, John Mitchell took over at Currie Cup level, if I remember correct. And we started playing, and that's where I made my Currie Cup debut against the Bulls, against the big dogs. And obviously we didn't do too well in that Currie Cup. 2011, Coach John Mitchell, Tails, Coach Akkers was the forward coach. And obviously going to Super Rugby, we had a couple of wins. And I made my Super Rugby debut against the Hurricanes overseas. And that's why I started to realize, yes, there's not a lot of players that's happy with what's happening at the Lions at the moment. Like, you don't know what's going on. You just, that back the corridor chats.
Yeah.
Yes, you just hear that going on, and you don't really know what's going on. And then 2011, we won the Currie Cup. So the amount of work that team put in to win that Currie Cup was just spectacular. But one thing I've noticed, every Monday the players was scared to come. The players that played was scared to come to the union because every Monday they had one-on-ones. So obviously John Mitchell was quite hard on them, and the training was tough. Like Monday, Tuesday, I played a bit. I wasn't in the structures. I was on the sideline, and it was full contact training. Now you come in there, youngster, fresh. You don't realize how sore the bodies are because you're not part of it, and you haven't experienced it. And now you're thinking you're a big gun running through tackles, and those bodies are sore, and the people are not happy. And then 2012 came with the Super Rugby, so we won the Currie Cup. Everybody's excited. 2012 still struggling with Super Rugby. And then this massive, what do you call it, optocht or stand-up against John Mitchell came from all the senior players, and they went to Kevin de Klerk, who was president at the moment, or at that time. And they said they're not happy. They're not happy players. They don't agree with what he's doing. They got rid of him in a way. I don't even know. I wasn't part of it. I don't know what happened, but he went away. And then Coach Akkers took over, and we won one game, lost one game, and then we got the news that we're out of Super Rugby in 2013.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's when you pretty much joined.
Yeah.
In 2013, so they made all these promises. Now we're going to tour America, and they're gonna give us lots of games. And at the end of the day, we ended up playing Vodacom Cup, and we actually won the Vodacom Cup that year. Yeah. And so taking it back, since Coach Akkers took over, the first thing he tried to get a team together, and we had camps. And he was a straight shooter. When he took over, he told the guys, listen here, you're part of my plans, you're staying, listen here, you're not part of my plans, you're going. So he cleaned up. Obviously, with us being out of Super Rugby, a lot of players left as well because they wanted to play Super Rugby.
Yeah.
And he cleaned up, and they got the squad together with very talented guys that struggling to get the breakthrough, like you back then, being so good at varsity cup level, flipping, having amazing games. Franco Moster, Robbie Kutsia, if I just think of a couple of guys that came from Tuks.
Yeah.
And he had an eye for talent. Like, you guys worked really, really hard, and you were hard workers, but he just saw that and got guys that wanted to build a team with him. So that was probably where the building started. And I think we won the promotion relegation by 1 point difference or 2 point difference.
It was very close. It was very close.
Yeah. And then from there, yes, coach, you know how it was. We just built that team for 3 or 4 years. And that probably started at the end of the year 2012. And people only saw the fruits of it, probably 2015 Currie Cup, 2016, 17, 18 Super Rugby. So it took time.
Yeah, crazy. Like, and I just so that's obviously now pre, and then I joined November 2013. But backstory to that was, as you're explaining now, like you were out of Super Rugby. They were busy pulling players together, having meetings with guys, trying to sign a squad, all of that. And I remember telling my agent, like, listen, if the Lions are interested, I would like to sit down with the coaches, have a conversation, just kind of get a feel of where they are. Because at that time at the Bulls, I felt I was good enough to break through to Super Rugby, but I just never got any opportunities. And I was told, I'd perform and you'll get a chance, perform and you'll get a chance. But the performance was there, but the chances didn't come, So I'm like, okay, whoa, like I need to figure out something. Yes, either I go back to Cape Town or, I give this 2 more years, I give it a shot. And if rugby doesn't work out for me, I might as well just go and finish my IT degree. I'll probably earn the same salary as a base salary when I start for what I was on at that time. So I'm like, okay, I need to make this decision. Long story short, go and sit with Johanna and Swayze, and they explained the vision to me. Like you were saying now, they explained the vision. He explained to me exactly, like, listen, God showed him clearly 3 years if he can build a team and keep a team together, he's going to change this union into a championship union. He told me that off the bat, straight, boom. As he told me that, I got goosebumps, everything. I'm like, what? Like, and he's like, listen, we need all the characteristics that he was talking about, what they need in players, like boom, 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 boom. I'm like, are you talking to me? What's going on? Like, this guy's like, he knows my soul, like he's soul reading me, like he knew exactly what he was looking for. I could just identify with that. And I'm like, you know what? Actually, I told my agent, listen, I don't even care. We're not even going to negotiate numbers or anything. Whatever they put on paper, just tell me where to sign. I'm on board. Mind you, this was before you guys played the promotion relegation game. So this was 2 months before that. So because they shared the vision with me, I just had that, I just felt that confirmation, like, listen, this is where I need to be. And I just knew the rest of it would work out. Like, I didn't even care. I was in the stadium that game when you guys played at Ellis Park, cheering for you guys. I was still at the Bulls at the time, I'm unashamedly saying that. I was there, I was watching your games. I'm like, I'm cheering on and all of that. And when you guys, obviously, when I realized, like, okay, snap, we back in Super Rugby. Obviously, this was now, a lot of excitement going into that, but that's just a little backstory on like my little journey and my experience with Johan and Swayze when they explained the vision and just getting that vision and understanding what it was that they wanted to build. It was obviously going to be trial and error because they had a lot of different players, a lot of rejects from all the clubs that all came together, a lot of egos. You know what it was like in the beginning. A lot of egos that you had to kind of balance out and all of that, but they just knew, how that would work, and they just knew how to. And I always say this whenever anyone asks me about Johan, they're like, "What is so special about him?" I'm like, he knows how to work with people. He knows how to get the best out of every single person. He knows when he needs to swear at someone for him to get the result, or whether he needs to be calm and collected and have a soft approach. Like he knew exactly how to balance that out, and that's emotional intelligence. Like he's really good at that. But then obviously on top of that, now I wanted to ask you, what do you think then with the backstory now, with your story with Johan and Swayze and what they've built? Obviously, there was a lot of other key guys involved as well, JP, Cash, and all the guys. What do you think was the few defining factors, that created success for us in that time that we were building at the Lions?
Yes, if you have to put it down to two things that you probably still remember. It's like we always said, we're gonna play to inspire.
Yes, sir.
No matter who watched our games or where we are, gonna play to inspire. And the other one was to play for the audience of one. And I really believe that was a huge difference, because Coach Akkers got a word before he took over, or before he started this whole thing, that the team he's coaching will never be under the spotlight for anything bad. He will never be scrutinized again if we just stick to what we have to do and honor God wherever we go and whatever we do. And I really believe that was the difference, because it sounds like two simple, easy points that you have to live by. But if you take it to heart and you actually live by it, it's much more challenging. And obviously, with all of that, we were definitely the fittest team, because Cash Jason.
Guaranteed. We didn't touch a rugby ball for 3 weeks in pre-season.
Yeah. And we had a brotherhood course. I really believe that's the most special times that I have of my rugby career, because not because of the games we won or because of the places you've seen, but it's just that brotherhood. Like me and you, we haven't spoken like for a very long time, and here we are chatting about life, chatting about rugby. It feels like we've been friends for a very long time. We have been friends, but we haven't lost contact.
Feels like we've been in touch, yeah.
Yes, it feels like we've been in touch, and that's what's special to me. It's like that's the things you remember when you retire, and that's the fond memories I have of that group. But coming back to your question, it's play to inspire and play for the audience of one, and that was the only thing Coach Akkers asked of us.
Yeah. I think, like, for me, that was, and I get into a lot of conversations, and it's weird. I mean, let's be honest. I'm getting towards the older stage of being a rugby player. I'm 33 years old now. I mean, you're 35, so I obviously get asked a lot, what was it that you guys did at the Lions, like what? And I'm like, I always tell them, like, we just never went onto the field and believed that someone was gonna beat us. Like it was like we went with that full confidence that we have done the preparation. We know we fitter than every team. We know we're gonna score more tries than you. It wasn't a thing of, you know, maybe, or it was like we know what our mission was. We were gonna do that. That was the one thing and I think for me, like having that identity as a team, that for me was like something that stood out because I'm like, there was no doubt from number 1 to number 50 in the squad. Any guy could come in any weekend and it would be exactly the same thing. There was no confusion. He could be under 19, get his debut for Super Rugby, and he would be like Mados Tambwe scoring a hat trick in 12 minutes. These things just happened, and it's weird. And you're saying now, like, and I do believe that, it was a very special time, and I do believe that that's how God works. Like He works through special people at specific times. Like I haven't seen something like that created again. Like if I can say it like that, like and it was special to be a part of an era where you built a legacy that now will stand for times to come. And it was pioneered by someone that God just said, you know what, I'm going to use you. I'm going to use you to do this at this place. And I mean, in Joburg, in the heart of Joburg as well, our stadium was packed weekend after weekend after weekend. That it was just like, and when you look at it, you're like all of these things all together. It still blows my mind when I think about it. It still blows my mind. But yeah, it's just awesome to be a part of something like that. And like you said, the relationships we've built. And I always say this, funnily enough, when you said now and you mentioned about not always speaking to each other, not always being able to catch up and all of that. We all get busy with life, and these things happen. But how you really know that you have a relationship with someone is when you have that conversation and it's like you're just kicking off from where you left off before. That's when okay, cool. There's a relationship there. There's a bit of a brotherhood. There's something. You've been through stuff together, you've seen stuff together. It's like the next question I wanted to dive into was, now having all of that, building that, winning Currie Cup, we all remember the famous Jaco Kriel lifting the trophy when we were unbeaten in Currie Cup. Now you've put in all the work, the penultimate dream being a Springbok. Now you get selected for the Springboks based on all the success that we've built, all of that, the opportunities come, and now your dream becomes a reality, for you to pull the green and gold jersey over your head. What did that mean to you?
Yes, of course. That was also a difficult journey. If I can take it back, you spoke earlier about the amount of tries I scored. Like 2014, I think I was the top try scorer in Currie Cup. I had a really good Currie Cup. And that was my first time on tour with the Springboks with the year in tour. There was a big group of 36. And I think I was one of 3 players that didn't get the opportunity to get a test cap on that tour. And when I came back from that tour, you obviously get the jacket that you have to carry over your arm all the time. And so when I got back to the Lions from that tour, Cash and Coach Akkers just told me, listen here, you're not yourself, what happened? So we were so privileged with an amazing setup that I didn't know at that time how to handle Springbok duty. Like it was something new for me. Like I believe back then I thought I was ready, but looking back at now, it was actually a blessing in disguise for maybe me not playing. And then 2015, I had a stunner of the year. I probably played some of my best rugby. It was that year that I got SA Rugby Players Player of the Year, and I was one of 2 or 3 guys that's not a Springbok that received that accolade. And when I didn't get chosen for the World Cup squad back then, Coach Akkers just called me. He said, Jakes, I know you're disappointed, but just keep on doing what you're doing. I'm going to make you Currie Cup captain, and just keep on doing what you're doing. And I was like, it's reg, coach. I'm doing this. And you mentioned that we went unbeaten with an amazing squad back then, because none of us was part of that World Cup squad except Warren, that was on the fringes back then.
Yeah.
And then we already had 3 years going together as a group. And then 2016 came, excuse me, and we were starting to do really well in Super Rugby. It's the first year that we reached the finals, and I was in that group with the incoming tour. I didn't play the first game. Like, all the Lions teammates got their caps in the first game, and the second game with Komi scoring that amazing try on Emirates Airline Park. And then there was a couple of injuries, and I got the opportunity, coach. And when you pull that jersey over your head, it's just a memory of all the adversity that you went through in life, all the people that didn't back you, all the people that backed you and loved you, and all the people that were always there for you, and standing there singing the national anthem. All these emotions just go through you. Like, it takes a week or two to sink in. That's how much emotion go through you, because you think like, yes, there were so many times that I could have failed, that God provided for me. There were so many times that some stuff could have happened where you just push through, and you had the grit of going on and being determined to reach your goal. So pulling that jersey over my head, yes, it was a mixture of emotions for a long time.
Yeah, well deserved as well. Like, obviously, like, I mean, for how you were playing, I truly believe you should have played. You should have played in 2014 already, if not before then. So obviously, like, and I remember how accommodating and how happy, like, everyone was for all the guys that made it to play for the Springboks, because we all knew that the whole union as a whole together, we've been building for this, to provide guys that could go into the system. So now it's special, man. I think unless you pull that jersey over your head and you've done it, you wouldn't fully understand or fully grasp like what you were explaining now. But it's truly a special feeling. And then, Jakes, you left and then went overseas. I also spent a few years overseas, and I believe that every player should, at least, even if it's just for a season, a player should at least have that experience to understand and get to know themselves better, because that's what it was for me. Like, it was a lot of lessons learned. I learned a lot about myself. My wife and I grew a lot closer as well. We learned to communicate a lot better as well. I understand what the most important things in my life is now. And it grew me as a person, and funnily enough, like, it made me a better player. It made me, and I know you obviously a firm believer in better people become better rugby players, and I do believe that it made me a better person, and it did make me a better rugby player. I enjoyed my rugby overseas, but I needed to be back in the country for a lot of reasons, obviously. But like, I needed to be back in the country, but it was an amazing experience for me. I was at a team that I enjoyed a lot as well. But how was that experience for you? Because I remember you leaving, and I know it was obviously a lot of emotions. Still remember Warren making that speech and saying he's not gonna say goodbye to you now, but how was that experience for you?
Of course, I went. The first little taste I had of going overseas was in 2016. I went to Japan for a short stint. I was supposed to have a contract there for 2 years, and went there 2016 for a short stint. Really enjoyed it. It was just amazing. It was fantastic. I loved every moment, even though I was there alone. So a couple of South Africans and foreigners there. And I really loved that time, and I couldn't go back the second season because in 2017 I got injured in a Springbok game, and I couldn't go back to Japan. And obviously I got the opportunity to go to the UK, where Coach Akis asked me to join him there. And with this Japanese stint in mind, I thought, yes, the UK is probably the place to be, because in Japan the struggle was the language barrier, because they don't really speak English. Like, okay, the UK, the weather is a bit odd, but they speak English. You can get by, and I'm not coming back to South Africa. I'm staying there to get my passport.
Yes, sir.
And it was everything but, because I was out for a year with my shoulder. I had two surgeries, and coming back from that, it was just injury on injury on injury. And coming to a new place, if you're injured the whole time, you're not part of a system. You struggle to get to know the guys. You struggle to get to bond with the guys. I play a game or a couple of games, and then I'm injured. And I play a couple of games, then I'm injured. And you're never really part of the setup. Although it was really nice. As you said, you learn a lot about yourself. And then I started feeling guilty, because at that time my dad was still with us. He was sick with motor neuron disease. And he just told me, listen, go chase your dreams. And while you're there earning good money, not really feeling part of the group, because you're injured the whole time, and now you've got this on your conscience. My dad is freaking back home, he's sick, and I don't know how many years I've got left with him. So all of that played a massive role, and I really tried to make it work. Coach Akkers and his family was there for me quite a bit. Rowan Dreyer, Franco Moster, they were all very accommodating. But when I injured my ankle the last time when I was there, I just went to Coach Akkers, like, Coach, I can't anymore. I want to come do my rehab here in South Africa, and I don't want to come back to England. And he said he understands fully. And I was very fortunate enough that the director of rugby also understood my situation with family, with my dad, and he knew the whole story. I'll get a bit into that as well if you want to, a bit later. Yeah. But he knew the whole story, and he said, listen, Jakes, go back. Go to South Africa, spend time. And I freaking got back to South Africa, and then COVID hit. 2 months COVID hit. I was in lockdown for all those months.
Yes.
And unfortunately, just out of lockdown, I got back 2020 in January, and my dad passed away in October. So the guilt feelings didn't really go away. But as you said, I'm coming back to your question. It was something I had to experience, because if I didn't go, I would always wonder how the UK is. Maybe I would have made it in the UK. So it was necessary to go. But obviously I had the best times personally there, not because of the people necessarily, but because of my injuries and my own experience.
No, 100%. Like, look, that was going to lead on to my next question about talking about the challenges in dealing with loss. I lost my father in 2019 as well, so I know the pain that comes with that. I mean, we were on tour with Super Rugby, and I was flying back to go and say goodbye to my father in the hospital. Obviously a hectic experience for me, but I also had injuries at crucial seasons in my life, like where there was an international deal on the table for me to go to France in 2019. I do my MCL literally the week that I had a conversation with that coach. I do my MCL last game of Super Rugby. I'm on my way to go to France. Like, it's, life-changing opportunity, and obviously just fell through, And, we deal with all these trials, all these tribulations all the time. You've had similar challenges. I mean, you just talked about losing your father. How do you, as Jaco Kriel, deal with those setbacks and those challenges?
Yes, coach. Unfortunately, I learned to deal with that very early in my life. And it's just because I freaking had to. Didn't have the easiest of circumstances. I told the story to the Lions guys in a sharing story, and that's part of my story, so I feel free to share it. But when I was 13 years old, my mother committed suicide while we were in the house. A year later, my brother committed suicide.
Sure.
2 years after that, my sister and a little daughter passed away in a car accident. So through all of that, I really believe it's not the sort of thing 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old teenagers deal with in their life. But unfortunately, it's part of life, and adversity will always be there. And my dad used to tell me, it was probably a bit harsh, but listen, son, life never waits for you. Wake up in the morning, do what you have to do, never fall short on your responsibilities. Because if you just make a small choice of waking up every morning, going to school, do your part, don't slack, don't look for any reason not to do it, because you will always find a reason not to do it. Look for a reason to do it. Be responsible. Do what you have to do. Make a small choice. And those small choices became habits. It became a good way of life. It's still not perfect. I wasn't the angel in school, and that's also alright, because I was a teenager. I had to go through all of it, and that's one thing I remember him telling me. And with all this adversity, there's always people with open hearts. There's always people that gonna love you, gonna support you, gonna be there for you. And on the other hand, you should know there's always people that's going to look down on you and say, this is the end of Jaco Kriel, Courtnall, Skosan. They won't make it. This is too tough for a human to handle. And I wouldn't tell them back then, but I will say now, they don't know the God that we know. Because nothing is impossible and nothing is too tough for you to reach your success that you were put out there to reach. And for me, it was just sport was a break for me, because when I ran, when I did fitness, when I did sport, I cleared my head, because you had so many reasons to do all the wrong stuff. And people in my life back then gave me all the reasons to do the right stuff.
Yes, that's powerful. That's powerful. And I mean, like, I want to touch on something that you mentioned, and it's about, you said you wouldn't have told them then, but you would tell them now. Like, can you elaborate on that? Can you elaborate on that? Is that the freedom of not being a rugby player anymore, or are you just at a stage in your life now where you don't care what people think about you anymore? You're just gonna be unfiltered, Jaco Kriel, take me as I am. It's like, just elaborate a little bit on that for me.
Yeah, Coach, I probably say that if I had said something, they would have always been on my back, and they have always waited for me to fail. And just by being quiet, you have this confidence inside of yourself. It's probably drive in the wrong way of, I will show these people.
Yeah.
But looking back now, I was probably too scared to say it back then, because my thoughts were, maybe these people are right.
Yeah.
Maybe I am not going nowhere, because I'm not privileged. We were average family. There's not lots of money to send me wherever I have to go or want to go. So maybe these people are right. Maybe it's good for them to look down on me. But looking back now, sitting here, looking back, it's like, yes, you just had to have faith like a mustard seed, and you were sorted. And I think it's more being scared to say something than being finished for rugby. And being older, I really don't care what people say or think, because I'm not going to change. I've been through my life. I've seen a lot of stuff. I wasn't perfect, and I'm still not perfect, but I'm a firm believer rugby is just a foundation for what's next in your life.
Yo, powerful. Powerful. That leads, all these things are leading so perfectly into the next question. Like obviously now you retired, and I mean, when you announced the retirement, I was like, no ways, the game is losing a big boy. The game is losing a big boy. But, I always ask the guys, because I mean, I remember sitting with Pierre Spies when he had announced his retirement and he came back to South Africa before he went into full-time ministry. I begged him, like, please, can I have a coffee with you? Because I just like, and I was 26, 27 at the time. I just love like speaking to players that have obviously been in the game, played at the top level, and then made the decision, like, you know what, it's time to hang up the boots. Like, how do you know when the time was right to hang up the boots? You obviously now made that decision. You knew the time was right. You backing you that the timing is perfect. How do you get to that stage? How do you know? Because we love the game so much, Jack. I mean, let's be honest. We love this game. You feel like you can play until you're 50. Like until obviously you get to the age where you have to make a decision. How did you get to that?
Yeah, I really think it's different for every player. Some guys just hang up their boots because they're tired of training every day and they're not motivated anymore. For me, it was injuries, coach. Throughout all my injuries that I had, my last ankle surgery, the specialist told me, listen, I was really thinking about my career, and that was in 2021. Like
Sure.
I was really thinking about stop playing, and then dealing with this ankle injury, getting back to training, I realized my knee is also bugging. Like I've got, there's nothing. I went to Dr. Rob, went for scans, and they said, listen here, there's nothing they can do for me. I must just push through, and I was actually stupid because the last year or two of my career, I basically lived on painkillers from day to day to get through training,
Sure.
to get through games, and realized my contract actually ended in December 2022. And I went to Trace and like, listen, Trace, let me just finish the URC season, because when I signed my contract with the Lions, it was still super rugby. And I made the choice, before I went into my last year URC season of the Lions. I said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I knew I was going to finish. And as life wants it, going into my last season, in September, heading into the warm-up games, I felt a pain in my stomach. And it was actually an abscess that burst to the inside, that I was on one of my darums. I don't know what's the correct words now. And I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. And I was in ICU as well, and I almost died. And I don't know if the painkillers were part of it or it was just coincidence, but when I came out there, I realized, okay, I'm making the right choice. I have to get my life in the right order now. And I played my first game in December, I think. And for me, I really felt it was the right time with the injuries I have. I didn't want to keep on pushing because I feel I'm taking the place of a younger guy that's probably more agile and quicker than me at the moment. And I don't want to be that guy that people say, you're still just playing for the money. And I really believe that was the right time for me to retire. Although life after rugby, difficult.
We'll latch on to that as well, because this is obviously now the beginning and the birth of a new season in your life. So you made the decision, you've retired now. I don't know, like the way I understand, the way I know you, you've always kind of prepared for life after rugby. You've always been savvy. You've always been a guy to make investments, to network, to work with business people. That's the Jaco Kriel I know. So I know you've put some things in place, but obviously still there needs to be something that, like keeps you busy day to day, that takes the place of the rugby schedule now, so what businesses are you involved in? Like what does a day in Jaco Kriel's life look like now? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, good. I was coaching at Garsfontein while I was still playing. I was a consultant there. And in May, when I retired, the main sponsor of Garsfontein Rugby back then was Go Business. It's an accounting firm. And the guy there, Arnold Steinberg, he heard about my retirement. He's like, he's going to help Garsfontein. He's going to get me in as a brand ambassador. And he has plans for me in place. And I was actually very blessed because my contract haven't even ended and I had something new lined up. And one of his plans was we have a bar together, or restaurant bar together here in Pretoria. It's Go Rugby Bar. And I started with that. And I don't think I've realized it then, but in such an attempt to try and make things work with life after rugby, I found myself in the bar drinking every night, trying to get people there, trying my best to be this ambassador, but doing all the wrong things.
Yeah.
And the first 7-8 months was really tough because I fell deeper and deeper into a hole, having a routine. And then in January, I went to him and said, "Listen, the bar is really something I don't want to do." And he asked me, "What do I want to do?" And my answer to him was, "Ari, I want to work with kids. My passion is kids." And he's like, "Okay, let's go." So we started the JK6 Foundation. And he said, "My work now is to go speak to schools and motivate them free of charge. I just want to speak to high schools, tell them my life story, speak about hope, speak about choices, determination, grit, just telling them there's some hope, because I feel there's so many broken children out there that needs this little speech of there's hope. Because as we mentioned earlier, they see the Springboks on the field, but they don't know what it took to get there. So whatever your dreams are, it's not going to be easy. And yeah, that's basically my life at the moment. I'm brand ambassador. He's got a couple of businesses that I'm trying to get out there to people and talk about it. So that's probably my day at the moment. But the big thing is working with kids. And one thing I've realized is after your rugby career, you have to find a new purpose in life, because rugby was your purpose for a while, but that's what I said earlier, it's just a foundation for your real purpose in life.
That's awesome, man. I'm so happy. Obviously, that makes me smile, like to hear, because you hear all these horror stories. I mean, I don't want to, but I mean, you hear all these horror stories of guys finishing their careers and like not knowing what to do with their lives, like, and just kind of like fizzling away in the sense of life, just life in general. We're not even talking about fame, because we all know what happens when you're done with the game. Next kid is on the block, that disappears immediately. No one wants to take a picture anymore, like, because that's the stuff that you hear from all the guys that have played before. I sat down with one of the guys, also Springbok, played many games for the Stormers, and he told me, he's like, "Listen, this is one of the first things that are gonna happen. Like, no one's gonna want to buy you a drink anymore and just take a picture with you and like, want to be around you and stuff like that. Like, there's a new kid on the block, you retired, you've forgotten now, So it's amazing for me to hear that you've got your life. I never doubted that for you, like, because I mean, the way I know you as Jaco Kriel, like this, I mean, I remember the conversation that we were having a chat one day, and we're talking about buying properties and investing and making good decisions, and you mentioned something that sticks with me till this day. And you said, "Yeah, it's fine, it's all good and well to buy properties as long as you can pay them off before you're done with rugby. Because if you can't pay them off before you're done with rugby, that means you've got debt." And you're not going to get the salary anymore. So then how are you going to pay for that house? And it's always something that just rings in the back of my head. And I remember us having many conversations like that, like you, Warren Whiteley, guys that I sat around that, and you guys are the reason I bought a property, because I was so scared of that process. I never understood what it was to actually purchase an investment or a property, or you guys were always looking at opportunities and doing this, and I'm like, what am I missing? Like, it's like I'm in the room with this thing, I'm in the same room, but I don't understand these things, and on that as well, like, like I know that you know a lot, and we don't always have the time, or we might not have the time now to dig into all of it. But is there any words of encouragement or advice to a young sports person watching, with regards to specifically finance, business, and then obviously sport in general as well, that you would like to share with them?
Yes, definitely. For every young child out there listening, for me, it's don't don't get used to a life that you can't hold on to. Like, don't spend money that you don't have. Build relationships. Coach, I promise you, after rugby, those are the network. Build relationship. Always be humble, because that's what people will remember. Like, yes, this guy is humble. He never said he's too good for anything. So even though you're up and coming youngster, you're a youngster at school, have good manners, be humble. Even if you're a superstar and the top Springbok player, be humble, because people like humility, and that builds relationship. And after rugby, that's probably how I got this gig. It's like, they told me, listen, Jaco, everyone we talking to is talking about your humility. It's talking about how you care for other people. So live out of your heart. Be open to people. Be open to everything. Well, not everything. Sorry, scratch that. Be open. Be
To the
open
good stuff.
to the good stuff. Yeah. And regarding to finances, coach, my whole from the age of 23, we weren't big earners back then, and I managed to probably save. I saved half of my salary throughout my whole rugby career. So for the rugby players out there, don't think your next paycheck is just around the corner. Don't think your next contract is around the corner. Live, invest, and earn as if it's your last contract in rugby, because you never know what's going to happen. We're very fortunate with our careers. We've done 14, 15 years. But if you manage to do that, you'll put away enough to, well, by the way they're earning these days, they put enough to not work. But yeah, you'll never be in trouble. So yeah, my two things is work smart with your money, and be humble and build relationships, because that's the things that last, and that's the legacy you want to leave.
Sure. Powerful, Jakes. Thank you so much. That is all the questions that I had. That is a lovely conversation. There's a lot of meat in there. I think someone watching this, can take a lot from that, whether that is how to deal with challenges, whether that is now at the end, how to deal with, your finances, or your thinking at least around that. And then if there's old, like those those diehard fans, you know who I'm talking about, those people, if they listen to this conversation, they'll be able to relive those glory days, and the struggle years that we had, because we dug into all of those things. So Jakes, I just want to say thank you so much, brother. And like for you in your new season now, I just want to wish you all the success. I know this new season is just going to be the best season of your life. I mean, this is where your life actually only begins now. Like, because I thought about it the other day. Look, let's be real. I'm counting down. I'm not counting up anymore. I'm counting down the years to when I'm gonna do the same thing and make the same decision. I still feel fit. I still feel young. I still feel amazing. God willing, I've got a few more years left in rugby, and I can enjoy that. But like for me, like I know, like our lives actually only begin when we're done with rugby, because we've missed out on so much while we were busy in the limelight entertaining everyone. We're missing out on life experiences, corporate experience, business experience. We're missing out on so much. And like, may this next half of your life, just be the best half of your life. Like, I know we're gonna bump into each other again. I know we're gonna see each other soon. I'm in Cape Town now. I don't know how much you come down to Cape Town. I'll be up in Joburg soon to visit the family that side. Let's connect, let's have a coffee. I think those things are also important. But yeah, like I said, I just wish you all the best, brother. Like, thank you so much for opening up yourself and just sharing your story and making time for this.
Coach, thank you for having me, and all the best for the rest of your rugby career. You'll stay a legend in my heart, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, brother.